I am Balu Pulipaka. Welcome to In Conversation with Kishore Poreddy, a BJP spokesperson. And in these conversations, we will talk about a host of topics, one at a time. And let's get straight to it.
Yeah.
Kishore, welcome.
Thank you, sir. Thanks for having me at Nationalist Hub.
Yeah, it's a pleasure. Tell me something about what is happening. What do you think is happening in terms of the farming crisis in Telangana at this point of time? What do you think? And then I'll ask you a few questions as you go along.
Sure. Thank you once again for having me at Nationalist Hub. It's been 4 months. There's a new government in the state. And unfortunately, this season for water, there's been a water crisis. We haven't been bestowed with abundant water like in the previous years. There has been the El Nino effect, right? It's a result of the El Nino effect. But as you said, the perfect storm. I feel this is a perfect storm as far as agriculture and the farmers are concerned in the state. They're facing a perfect storm. You know the Kaleshwaram project and how it has currently become defunct at the moment because of the sinking piers in Medigedda. Mm-hmm. That happened on October 21st, right? Just 40 days before the elections.
Right.
And the BRS, which was in power at that time, they had to open all the gates and then empty the barrage at Medigedda. So since this is a lift irrigation project, Medigedda is the lowest level barrage in the entire scheme of the Kaleshwaram, this thing. Right. So you had to store water there and then pump it upstream so that you could store that water, recharge the ground water, and also so that you can irrigate from those these things. But since the final barrage has become useless now, Kaleshwaram project, you are unable to pump water upstairs. Along with that came the deficit rainfall. So now we are facing a situation for the first time after the Kaleshwaram project was built. Actually, there was no need to pump earlier. Though we pumped water upstream, most of it had to be released once again because there was abundant water in the river itself. So now this would have been the very first time where Kaleshwaram would have become really useful because there is a deficit rainfall. But this is the very time that it has, you are unable to pump water. So that actually the entire North Andhra, which the Kaleshwaram project was supposed to serve, has become, has gone back to earlier days where you don't have much water in the Kaleshwaram, and so the groundwater hasn't. For this crop, it seems to be a little okay, but for the next crop, it becomes really difficult because
if you don't have rains the next time, if you don't have an abundant monsoon the next time, I think we are in serious trouble. Very serious trouble.
Serious trouble. So even if you have abundant rain, we are only going back to the pre-Kaleshwaram days.
True.
Even then, farming was a problem with abundant rains as well, because throughout the season you needed water. For that, you had the entire 1 lakh crore worth Kaleshwaram project built, so that you could store the water, pump the water from Pranahita upstream into Godavari, and then store
in stages
across, so that at least the groundwater recharges. And if you have seen, after the BRS government came to power, after Telangana was formed, we had around 18 lakh bore wells.
Right.
Pumping water for agriculture before 2014. But now it is around 28-29 lakhs.
Right.
That is because the groundwater could be charged. Right. Now, that's not a possibility anymore because you are unable to pump water in Kaleshwaram. That is the North Telangana part of it. In the South Telangana part of it, as you know, even Krishna has a deficit. So the Jurala, Srisailam, Nagarjuna Sagar, all these projects are, you see the water levels. They are going down, they have gone down.
Yeah.
And even today, through irrigation, water is unable to reach the tail-end farms. So some fields are drying up. So that is the situation. Some farmers are going to see severe loss of crop this time. Whatever investments they have made in this particular cycle, they are going to lose that. At the same time, the prior BRS government had implemented the Fasal Bima Yojana, basically crop insurance, for a couple of years and then discontinued it.
Yeah, let me stop you here for a second. Hold that thought. Why do you think the BRS government never went for the Fasal Bima Yojana or stopped?
There are a couple of things. I mean, this is a national scheme, not only Fasal Bima Yojana. They have stopped the Prime Minister Awas Yojana. They said they will do a double bedroom thing instead. They have stopped for a long while the Ayushman Yojana. And even when they introduced it half, effective, this thing. Only in government hospitals you were able to use Ayushman Yojana while they were in power. So all of these together, it's basically, they did not want, this thing was the large scale irrigation projects, and then KCR is kind of the Apara Bhagiratha who brings water to every field, and he is the champion of farming. So now if the central government is implementing some schemes, then he has to share credit with the central government. I don't think he liked it. That's the reason. But unfortunately, this time, if there had been a crop insurance, at least the farmers could have recouped some of their losses. Right? Now, since they do not have a crop insurance, and there is scarcity of water, right? There is a crop loss. Now, the entire last crop is lost for many farmers, let us say. Not 100% of it.
You mean the current Rabi
season? The current season.
Yeah.
So now the farmer is facing shortage of funds going into the next season, right? Combine this with, this is why I call it perfect storm, because there are so many things that have come together to create a crisis actually, to push the farmer into a crisis. Combined with this, Revant Reddy, the current chief minister, then the PCC, before the elections, before November, he promised to waive off two farmer loans up to 2 lakh rupees. It's been 4 months. He said he would do that on Sonia Gandhi's birthday on December 9th. December 9th has come and gone. This is April 9th is fast approaching, so almost 4 months. What the farmers have done is they have stopped repaying their loans. So now they have defaulted on their loans, and their interest rates on those loans are going to go up. And next crop, they are not going to get loans from the banks because they are not current with their loans, because they are now defaultees. Many farmers are receiving notices from the banking community, and the CM has not spoken until now and never given a particular date or who is going to waive off this fund.
I don't think he can speak right now, isn't it? What with the election code?
With the election code. So that's why we're waiting for another. That's why we have been asking since December 9th to go ahead, because farmers depend on bank loans for input investments, right? And now this is not the first time experience. Even KCR did the same thing. Right. He said he would waive loans up to 1 lakh, and then only at the end of the 4th year, almost 5th year, he paid off some of the loans of the farmers. But unfortunately, what happened is, if someone had taken 50,000 loan from the bank, and he had paid back that 50,000 loan, but the interest on that 50,000 loan within these 5 years has gone up to almost 42,000 rupees. So almost like the farmer did not receive any benefit. Not only that, but those 4.5 years, he did not have access to banking credit at low interest rates. Right. So if you take that cost and this cost, actually the farmer had to pay more than what he would have paid if he had actually paid off the loan. So that, on top of that, now Revant Reddy comes in, the Congress comes in and says they will waive off 2 lakh crores. Now, for the next season, the farmer is unable to go to the bank because he has already lost his crop, but he is unable to go to the bank to get low interest loans. Apart from that, there's another thing. Those who have actually, not faced loss, or have faced, not 100% loss, for them, what should have happened is, the Congress government also promised that they give 500 rupees bonus if it is a paddy crop, right? 500 rupees bonus per quintal of paddy. Now, last season they have procured without paying the bonus. FCI started procurement for this season, right? Already yesterday. They started yesterday, but there has been no announcement. There is no guarantee. There has been no program announced for paying that 500 rupees additional payment. For farmers who have lost some of their crop, at least this 500 could have added some investment. This is another one. So finally, there's another one. Actually, BRS has introduced what's called Raitu Bandhu. Yes. There they would give like 10,000 rupees as input subsidy. I mean, farmers start the crop cycle. Apart from the bank loans at very low interest, like 3 or 4%, they would also get this 10,000 rupees per acre.
Right.
Now, after the Congress government came in, for the last crop cycle, only recently, for those who had more than 3 acres of land, only recently, that is when already the harvesting season is out and the FCI is starting procurement, only a week or 2 weeks back did they release for the 5 acre. That means it's no longer a input subsidy that they can bank on. For anyone who had more than 5 acres,
But the BRS
they haven't received any.
BRS government also was never on time.
Never on time. But this time I'm talking about a perfect storm. We had water at the time. Right? Mm-hmm. And there was this crop. I mean, they did not face a crop loss. So they had some amount of money that they could themselves invest into the next crop. Now, for those who are facing the crop loss and the banks, because of the 2 lakh waiver, which has not been fulfilled, the bank, they defaulting on the bank loans. Now, they don't have investment money either from the banks or from the previous crop or from the input subsidy that the government was promising. So Raitu Bandhu was only 10,000 rupees per acre. The Congress promised 15,000 rupees and called it Raitu Bharosa.
Right.
They also promised 12,000 rupees as an input investment subsidy, input subsidy for sharecroppers. I mean, as you say, Kaudu Raitu, tenant farmers, Kaudu Raitu, they call it in Telugu.
Right.
So they haven't done anything for them. Whoever they have given only for those who had less than 5 acres until now. Only a few farmers they had given money, and that too they haven't given, on time. So all of these factors together point to the next crop season becoming a perfect storm for farmers, because crop loss, so they do not have investment. Banks are not going to loan them. They are not getting the input subsidy, or not that they're getting, are they able to get that 500 rupees extra for the production they have. And another interesting change that has happened over the past few years in the BRS rule is that a lot of cultivation has shifted towards paddy. Mm-hmm. And paddy requires humongous amounts of water compared with any other crop.
Yes.
So all of this together has created a perfect storm where the crisis is so, there's a possibility that the crisis could be so huge that we will see, we have seen this a decade, prior to a decade, where thousands of farmers had to commit suicide because they had gotten into a debt trap. And the signs of that kind of a debt trap are evident already. And many farmers have committed suicide in recent days as well. Coupled to this, actually, there's also a possibility that, because most of them run on borewell, these things, though Kaleshwaram, you had spent 1 lakh crores, there's not much of irrigation canals and all that that were built. So most of it was recharging groundwater and extracting water from the ground. And because there is water scarcity, your hydel projects are going to, some of the hydel projects might not be able to do 100% production.
So the hydel is gone anyway.
Exactly.
Until the
and
next
there is a power crisis. There could be a looming power crisis because the government is not able to, because of financial position of the government. Financial position.
Okay.
So all of these combined together for the next season I'm talking about, if the El Nino continues, it could bring back the old days of severe farming crisis.
Yeah, but maybe I can add a little thing about El Nino there. It's expected to weaken. It's already weakening. So let's all hope. Let's all hope
that's good
that
news.
it actually weakens,
Exactly.
disappears,
Exactly.
and then we have a good monsoon.
Exactly. See,
Coming back to I'll come back to this crop insurance issue again once more.
Yeah.
It's a no-brainer for anybody.
Exactly.
Right? It's a no-brainer.
Yeah.
Any government should have its own scheme. There are a couple of other states which said we don't want PM Fasal Bima Yojana. They had their own schemes.
Yeah.
They had their own schemes.
Even Gujarat had come up with a scheme which expanded coverage and gave more benefits.
Gujarat said we don't want the PM Fasal Bima Yojana.
Exactly.
We'll
have a better one. Yeah.
What could have prompted the BRS government? Let us set aside the fact that it's a Prime Minister's program, BJP, so we don't want BJP, we don't want to share credit.
Exactly, but they could have implemented their own. But they could have implemented their own.
They could have implemented their own.
But why not?
It is inexplicable to me. So
it's not actually,
in the sense,
Balu, I don't think it's as inexplicable. Selling insurance, right, is a tough job. Because people, unless they are in trouble, think of health insurance, life insurance as well, right? Life insurance are life saviors, actually. I mean, the guys who ask you to, but people run away. I mean, they shut their doors, right? Because they don't see the utility immediately. Think of a government which spends, let us say, 5,000 rupees per farmer on insurance. And when there is a crisis, only a certain share of these farmers are going to benefit from it. And only when there is a crisis, right? But instead, let us say I give this 5,000 rupees directly to farmers. How many more votes am I going to get? So the benefits from a crop insurance or medical insurance or health insurance or life insurance are humongous, because it is insurance after all, right? But the thing is, it does not appear to be as direct a benefit that you can give to the voters, farmers today and any other voter tomorrow, right? As direct a benefit that you can give a voter today. I mean, instead of giving 5,000 for insurance, you pay 2,000 rupees for the voter. Through one or the other scheme, that would appear like you are giving money into the hands and you are giving it to a lot more people. See, in insurance, only those who face the crisis, they get the money, right? You don't see a lot of beneficiaries. That I think is usually
it is fundamentally flawed.
It is.
Thinking.
It is.
Because government is a custodian.
Yes.
Right. It doesn't matter whether I'm in power or you're in power or somebody else is in power.
Yeah.
Government is a custodian.
Yes.
So, don't you think it's time for governments to rise above these kind of, at least now, when we are 75 years old, for heaven's sake.
If you ask me that, let's say, isn't it time to rise above all these things? Shouldn't the governments be focusing on development? Shouldn't the governments be focusing on sustainability? Shouldn't the governments be focusing on insurance schemes like this, right? Where it's not a huge burden in one particular year on the government. At the same time, it saves lives and gets tons of people out of a crisis, right? These are all sensible things. But today, if you look around, right? The BRS itself had made tons of promises, like 10 lakhs to every Dalit. Right, and the Dalita Bandhu, and many other schemes like that. But it was unable to implement those. Knowing very well that the coffers are empty and it cannot do any better, the Congress had gone forward with taking the same schemes and adding a few more thousand rupees on top of it. Look at the Raitu Bharosa scheme. The BRS said 10,000 rupees per farmer per acre. The Congress said we'll give 15,000. Competitive populism, right? And the voters can directly see. If you say, I will pay the insurance company, you're not paying me directly. You will pay the insurance company. But of course, when I see a crisis, last 10 years, we had abundance of water, right? But actually, there were a couple of crises. There was flooding. There was flooding and then hailstorms and all of that stuff. Even the High Court had scolded the Telangana government, saying there should be a crop insurance. First of all, compensate these farmers because there is no crop insurance. They had to go all the way to the High Court. Even then, the compensation was tardy and then it was not sufficient and all of that stuff. And it was not implemented wholeheartedly. Many were skipped and all of that. Now you are facing the same thing. But the same money, the BRS would actually like to give it out as a handout to the beneficiaries rather than actually making it sustainable, making agriculture sustainable. It's not only about agriculture, it's about everything. Creating jobs is a tougher thing.
Is there a financial crisis looming for the farmer right now? Are they going to get pushed to private money lenders?
Obviously, they've lost the crop. There is no compensation. On top of it, they can't go to the banks because they are defaulters. Now, where do they go? The government is not giving you the input subsidies on time. Now, where do you raise money from? You go to private Vaddi Vyaparal, they call it in Telugu. So, private money lenders, where the interest rates are like 24%, 36%, which gets them into a spiral of debt. Right? And by the time, we have no visibility as to when the Congress government is going to finally address the 2 lakh waiver issue. They might renege on it, but they are never going to say it. So, now the farmer is forced into, becoming a defaulter and losing access to low interest systemic institutional credit, and has to fall into the trap of moneylenders.
Doesn't really look good for the farmers,
Does it? Doesn't look good, and we hope the only hope is that the El Nino factor fades away this year. There is abundant rain, and the farmer needs less of various things and has a better crop, so that at least he can cover his losses the next time itself. And by then, the government hasn't implemented that 500 bonus even now. So I don't know what they are going to do with the 500 bonus. I don't know what they are going to do with the Raitu Bharosa 15,000 thing, and no farmer knows basically. And when they are going to waive that 2 lakh this thing, and when their credit worthiness comes back so that they can go back to the banks, there's a lot of uncertainty, and the Congress government currently in power in the state needs to take a severe look at it. Unfortunately, I don't think they have done a systemic review of it. Even the CM should conduct a review, first of all. There have been a lot of reviews, white papers released on so many subjects, but this looming crisis, no one wants to touch, because they're afraid then when they go to the farmers that they might ask them about their guarantees that they have promised. And since they're unable to deliver on them, they just want to ignore it. This is exactly what
do you think a new government that has stepped in and taken charge and has an empty coffer.
Yes.
It deserves some time.
Oh, certainly it deserves some time if it did not know that the coffers were empty. They were the ones equally, vehemently criticizing KCR about emptying the coffers, bidding the state with around 6 lakh crore worth of loans, and that we had to pay 10,000 crores every year for Kaleshwaram itself on the payments, and every other. They also pointed out time and again that the government has used corporations to raise loans to bypass the FRBM norms. So it is not that they were unaware of it. Yet they made promises. We asked questions even then. I myself asked so many of the Congress people, even debates and other places. Where are you going to get this money? You know, we know, everybody knows. The coffers are empty. We are through the roof on FRBM limits in terms of getting additional loans. We have already used corporations, municipalities to get loans from anywhere, and we can get it from. So now we are maxed out on all of these things. And the coffers are empty. How are you going to implement this? They used to say, no. We will get it done. We'll find a way. We will find a way. When there is development, the revenues will grow, and then we can easily develop this. Put it on a higher development path, grow the revenues. We know how to do it. We have done it in the past. We'll show you when we come to power, after we come to power. That's what they said. They never gave an explanation. And if you pressed a little bit deeper, they would say, hey, you don't want to give. Right? We are like Karna, right? Okay. We are very generous people, and because you guys are not generous people, and since we are giving all of these benefits to the people, promising all of these benefits to the people, you are questioning us. Actually, we should be questioning you because you haven't been that generous, because it's not in your nature to be generous. That's what they said when you asked logical questions like, where is the money going to come? So that's why I don't think they deserve any time. I'm knowing very well they said Sonia Gandhi's birthday, December 9, 2 lakhs will be waived off.
Okay.
Sonia Gandhi's birthday did not change this year. So
it doesn't change any year. Nobody's birthday changes. Unless you are born on February 29th, you have to wait for 4 years.
And I'm not asking any questions of the government that the government itself has set a deadline, hasn't set a deadline on, like the December 9th thing, right? It's their own deadline. 100 days they will fulfill all the 6 guarantees. 6 guarantees had actually 13 promises in it. It is the chief minister who set the deadline of 100 days, and it's been more than 100 days now. Right? So I think it's fair now to ask questions. And whether fair or not, forget about all of that stuff. If the farmer is going to face a crisis, whether they have promised it, not promised it, like for example the crop insurance, crop compensation, right? All of these things are something we need to do. And if we are unable to solve their, waive their 2 lakhs, at least give them more input credit from the government itself, right? So we can't just let the farmer go to go into a crisis.
So this farming crisis right now,
Yeah.
the drought-like conditions,
Yeah.
because it's not really a drought, but
Yeah.
for the affected farmer, it is a drought.
Yeah.
So the drought-like conditions
Yeah.
could well be an example of local issues taking over national issues in a national general election.
Certainly.
Right?
Some of these states, I mean, you have seen, there are a couple of things, actually. The last time too, when the Congress was in power in Karnataka, right, you had, BJP got more seats, but Congress and JDS formed the government in Karnataka. But immediately 6 months later, when there were national elections, BJP got 25 out of 28 seats, JDS got one, Congress got one, and another independent who aligned with BJP got another one. So 26 BJP and this thing. There too, I mean, though there is the national issue, there too there were issues with the local government as well. So I think even here, though only recently people of Telangana voted in Congress with a full majority, like they got 64 out in a 190 in assembly, all right? So within these 4 months too, apart from the national issues, these local issues, I mean, the promises they have made, and on top of it, the farming crisis that could be looming, right? I mean, for us, it's a point of discussion. It's a looming one. It might not be. There could be rains and all of that stuff.
Farmer,
if I am a farmer right now,
it's
I've experienced this.
Right.
I've lost a crop. The government said they would give a bonus on top for whatever crop I had raised. They have reneged on that. They have not given me input subsidy. Even though I was a small marginal farmer, it took me well half through the farming cycle, crop cycle, for me to get whatever little benefit. And then now I know that my bank is already sending me notices. So for the next season when I look forward to, I don't have money in my pocket, nor is the bank going to give me, nor is the government going to help me timely. So where do I get my investment for the next crop?
So that is an issue.
So that's already on the minds of every farmer as of today.
That's an issue that the government should pay serious attention to.
Obviously, it has to. I mean, farming is such a, I mean, so many people are dependent on it. And Telangana is hugely, dependent on agriculture.
And I also think the government should seriously think in terms of encouraging farmers from moving away from paddy.
Yes.
Not if just.
A crop diversification program, because they could be even more, not only because one crop, too much water and all of that stuff, but it could be even more rewarding for the farmer as well.
True.
But the government has to take certain steps, like soil testing, right? I mean, the central government has introduced that soil cards and all that stuff. But our governments in the state haven't taken up with the vigor that it needs to be taken up with. So some of these long-term sustainable and rewarding steps for the farmers, instead of actually focusing on, see, we are very generous people, we are giving you this much money, this much money, and then ignoring the entire other ecosystem, other necessary essentials, that I think, has to happen.
Yeah, because I was talking to some agricultural scientists recently, and they were telling me that I'm going to stick my neck out here saying, they said paddy is primarily a lazy man's crop. It doesn't require as much intensive work on the ground as other crops would. And of course, availability of water has made growing paddy easier.
Yeah, I think the second one, right? And a tradition of growing paddy in our state.
The scientists were not saying it in a derogatory way.
Yeah, exactly.
But it just takes a little less effort in terms of raising the crop.
See, I mean, for example, vegetables. Right, growing vegetables, horticulture, flowers and all of that stuff, and many other, where the gestation period is longer. If you take mango groves or something else, you have to wait for a longer period. See, all of them are human effort intensive as well, human labor intensive. The thing is also that labor availability is a difficulty. See, I mean, you see in foreign countries where, abroad, where you have almost robot-like machines which go around and do a lot of work and even pluck fruits, even strawberries for that matter, and all of that stuff. See, here you have similar technology only for paddy. You have harvesters, 1 acre in 1 hour, it is out there, and then you can send it to the market and get the money. But for other areas, we haven't, mechanization hasn't helped, but at the same time, we are seeing high costs of human labor and less availability of human labor as well. So I think it might be a mix of all these factors which had forced our farmers into this kind of thing. So the government needs to actually take various steps and make the other crops much more beneficial to the farmer. So if we want, it's a matter of food security, not only food security, but also it's a matter of economy and sustainability for our farmers. Yeah.
So on this note, I think we'll end this conversation here.
Sure.
But definitely, it is time for the government to take a very, very serious look at the farming crisis. It doesn't matter which party it is, any party, anywhere. The government should always pay attention to what's happening to the farming community. On that note, we will end this conversation here. Thank you for coming, Kishore.
Yeah, thank you for having me.
Keep watching Nationalist Hub.